My fiancé proposed to my sister. Everyone thought I'd make a scene. Even my parents tried to get me to give in to my sister. But they didn't expect me to calmly offer my blessings. And then announce my own wedding plans with the wealthy heir, Jackson. Sorry, not sorry. The victim act ends here. I'm going for the power fantasy storyline. Today was supposed to be my engagement party with Alexander. But Alexander was a no-show, his phone was off, and his parents couldn't find him either. Just as the venue started buzzing with gossip, I took the microphone from an attendant, leisurely picked up a wine glass from the table, and raised it slightly. Apologies, everyone. I imagine my fiancé must have something important to attend to. Before I could finish, the other star of today's show, Alexander, appeared at the entrance with my biological sister, Olivia, their fingers intertwined. He loudly interrupted me. Indeed, apologies are in order. He let go of Olivia's hand, looked down at her with a cherished expression, pulled her into his embrace, and walked step by step towards me, holding out his hand. If you please. I put down my wine glass, handed him the microphone, and consciously took a step back. Alexander nodded at me, looked around, and said apologetically. Everyone, and Miss Khloe. My sincere apologies. My engagement party with Miss Khloe will be cancelled. But today, I want everyone present to be a witness. The person I, Alexander, have truly wanted to marry from the very beginning, is her and only her. As he spoke, Alexander turned to Olivia, knelt on one knee, and said with utmost sincerity. Miss Olivia, will you marry me? Olivia didn't respond. She glanced at me, then looked down at Alexander, tears streaming down her face, as if in extreme emotional turmoil. After all, she was publicly hijacking her own sister's engagement party. Alexander clearly saw her hesitation, silently took her hand, and gave her encouragement. The guests, who had already started to trickle out, turned back to watch the drama unfold. Whispers gradually began to spread. Hasn't the marriage alliance between our families been public for years? Why the change of person today? Khloe rarely appears in public. I didn't expect her to be so stunning when she finally does. I heard that this Alexander used to be very fond of Olivia. Does this count as Khloe stealing her sister's fiancé? Won't Olivia cause a scene? Hard to say, they're not married yet, so what's the big deal? Indeed, regardless of the occasion or status, gossiping is a universal human talent. I smiled faintly, putting on a sincere act, and urged Olivia. Sister, what are you waiting for? Say yes. Unexpectedly, Olivia's tears flowed even harder at my words. She lowered her head, shook it, and pursed her lips without speaking. The kneeling Alexander finally lost his patience, turned his head, and growled at me, Khloe, stop torturing Olivia. If you have any dissatisfaction, direct it at me. She's innocent. Seriously? What does this have to do with me? I tried to hold it in, but I couldn't help retorting. Are you insane? The atmosphere in the banquet hall froze for a moment. My friends, seeing the situation, quickly gathered around, afraid I'd cause a scene, and tried to lead me out. Khloe, don't be sad. We can talk about whatever it is later. Khloe, are you okay? Let me take you downstairs to rest. Even my parents, Robert and Susan, came over, patted my shoulder, and tried to persuade me. Your sister has given in to you in everything since you were little. All she wants is Alexander. Be understanding for once, and let her have him. So, I don't even need to say anything, you've all said it for me. Pushing away the people fussing over me, I sighed. All right, you've all said enough. It's my turn to say a few words. I asked an attendant for another microphone and pushed aside these annoying people. Not far away, Olivia was crouching down, burying her face in Alexander's chest, sobbing. Meeting everyone's astonished and uncertain gazes, I took 2 steps closer. The speakers placed around the venue clearly transmitted every word I said. With all my heart, I wish my sister and Alexander a happily ever after. Hearing my voice, Olivia lifted her head from Alexander's embrace, her eyes red and on the verge of tears again. Khloe. Too lazy to listen to her act, I cleared my throat and continued. At the same time, I sincerely invite all of you. As I spoke, the banquet hall doors swung open, and someone slowly walked in from the entrance. The crowd parted, and gasps of surprise rippled through the room. Isn't that Jackson? What's he doing here? Damn, is the Crown Prince here to watch the show too? I walked over, linked my arm with the newcomer, and smiled. I invite all of you. On the 21st of next month, at Serene Garden, to attend my engagement party with Jackson. Now, no one dared to speak. Unlike ordinary wealthy families, who were coasting on their ancestors' laurels. The Millers had been in politics for generations, with significant achievements. But then came Jackson. He entered the business world at 20, employing rather aggressive tactics, and in just 5 years, he had gained control of a large portion of River City's economy. He was a true young elite, from a top-tier wealthy family. No one present truly dared to offend this crown prince to his face. Except for my dear sister, who only had my best interests at heart. Olivia was helped up by Alexander, her face full of disbelief. Khloe, don't talk nonsense. Jackson is not someone we can afford to joke about. I tilted my head, puzzled. Joke? What joke? Alexander put his arm around her shoulder protectively. Khloe, I was in the wrong today. You can ask for any compensation you want, but you shouldn't have gotten involved with the Millers. My father, Robert, also squeezed out of the crowd as if in slow motion, his face full of worry, trying to pull me away. Khloe. Don't be foolish, do you know who this is? I hadn't even answered yet. Jackson led me back 2 steps. Robert followed closely, apologizing while still trying to grab me. Jackson, my daughter meant no offense, she. Robert, I think you've misunderstood something. Jackson frowned, displeasure on his face. I held the microphone up to him. He lowered his head slightly, his voice calm. Since Khloe has invited everyone, then I also welcome you all to attend. Next month, on the 21st, at Serene Garden, our engagement party. He paused, then took the microphone. By the way, I also wish Olivia and Alexander a happy ending for the lovers. Then he let go of the microphone, letting it fall freely to the ground with a loud thud. Combined with his previous words, the sound was like a confirming hammer blow, striking everyone's heart. The room was silent for a moment, then a wave of commotion erupted. Younger socialites and scions around were discussing non-stop. I thought Olivia was so pitiful, but wait, something doesn't seem right? It feels like Alexander changing fiancés was a last-minute decision, but Olivia was prepared all along. I didn't notice just now, Serene Garden is Khloe, their names? Don't even say it, you really shouldn't. So we were just a part of their play. Khloe first, Jackson second, he's so in love. The surrounding discussions were quite loud and reached Jackson's ears. He seemed to enjoy it immensely, turning his head and glancing at the young masters and misses who had spoken with a hint of approval. He nodded from afar, indicating his agreement. My gaze followed his, and those few people visibly became more excited. What's with this vibe of you guys getting high off shipping a couple? You're all socialites, for crying out loud. I helplessly raised my hand and patted Jackson, who was preening like a peacock. Tone it down a bit. The next day, River City's headlines exploded. The news of my engagement to Jackson, with his permission, was known throughout the city. On my phone, Robert had been at it since yesterday afternoon. He kept asking how I got involved with Jackson. Asking if I wanted to ruin the booths, was the Millers someone I could provoke? Then, after seeing the headlines this morning, his sharp accusations turned into, Khloe, you must behave well and keep Jackson happy. The future of the booths depends entirely on you now. Entirely on me? My finger tapped on the last message, finding it amusing. Robert was incompetent at running the company. These years, he had basically relied on the Fong family's help. So for the past 20-odd years, the future of the Booths had rested entirely on Alexander's shoulders. That's also why, after discovering Alexander and Olivia's entanglement, they decisively abandoned me. My parents, they always favored my frail and sickly older sister, wishing they could give her the good marriage. It was just that Alexander insisted on pursuing me back then, and they couldn't force a switch. Now that Alexander had gotten together with my sister on his own, their wish had come true. Just as I was thinking this, Jackson sat down next to me with a bowl of grapes. "What are you thinking about?" I picked up a green grape and sighed sorrowfully. Biased parents, a sick sister, a fickle fiancé, and poor, innocent me. My hand holding the grape was guided to his mouth by Jackson. He mimicked my tone, sighing faintly. Alas, my fiancé truly was almost bullied. Almost forgot, this fruit-stealing guy knows quite a bit about me. Playing the victim failed. "The Booths wants me to suck up to you." I picked another green grape and offered it to his lips. "Here, let me suck up a bit." Jackson accepted it calmly and said lazily, "This catch of mine, are they worth waiting a few days for?" Since Jackson and I were getting engaged, both sides naturally needed to schedule a time to meet the parents. Besides, the Booths finally had a chance to ingratiate themselves with the Millers. They definitely wouldn't miss the opportunity to gain some benefits. I just didn't know how long they could resist disturbing such a big fish. I continued feeding him, speculating, a week, maybe. Jackson turned his head away, stating confidently, "One day." The next day, at the residence, Jackson was held up in the living room by my parents, making small talk. I went back to my room to pack, planning to move in with Jackson. The door was pushed open. Olivia walked in with a cup of coffee, her smile warm. "Khloe, I ground this coffee myself. Brought it for you to try." I glanced at the hickeys, varying in intensity, on her collarbone. Olivia couldn't even be bothered to hide them anymore. "I really admire you." Olivia, who was about to enter, paused her steps but still smiled. "What's wrong?" I put down the clothes I was holding, picked up the phone from the table, turned it off in front of her, and tossed it onto the bed. "Take out your phone." Olivia hesitated. "What are you?" I blinked, giving her a choice. Turn it off or close the door and leave. A moment later, the recording phone from Olivia's bag was taken out and turned off. She also closed the door. Olivia's smile vanished, her expression icy. "I've been curious since yesterday how you managed to hook up with Jackson. Now it seems you do have some tricks up your sleeve." I spread my hands. "These little tricks are nothing compared to yours. The rest of the Booths, especially our parents. Since childhood, they had treated Olivia, born prematurely, as a fragile doll, not allowing her to run or jump, not letting her go out and encounter any danger, keeping her cooped up at home for a long time. Yet, this carefully nurtured doll developed a black heart. After the age of 5, she began to target me specifically, intending to obtain from me things she felt rightfully belonged to her. Such as our parents' extra affection, the approval of teachers, classmates, relatives, and friends, and my fiancé, Alexander. Her methods included, but were not limited to, feigning illness, playing the victim, and slandering me. And she did indeed take many things from me through these methods. Although I found them trivial, she always acted like a triumphant victor. Perhaps she considered herself very successful. Thinking of this, I silently curved my lips into a smile. Olivia didn't respond to my previous words, brought the coffee to her lips, and took a leisurely sip. I spent over 10 minutes grinding this. "It's quite good. It's a pity you're not trying it." I echoed, "Yes, what a pity." The room was quiet for a few seconds. She put down the coffee. "You can't marry Jackson." "Why?" "You don't deserve him." I nodded and retorted, "What? You do?" Struck a nerve, a flicker of panic crossed Olivia's eyes. But at this moment, she still wanted to hide her ulterior motives, righteously admonishing me. "Jackson's background is not something you can aspire to. I'm doing this for your own good." Such a cliché for your own good. I sat on the edge of the bed, deliberately pondering for a few seconds. Is it that I don't deserve him, or do you want him for yourself? I've already given you Alexander, isn't that enough? Olivia subconsciously retorted, Alexander and I are truly in love. She paused, realizing something was wrong. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You said, let me have him? My silly sister. I smiled, raised a finger, and pretended to count. Didn't you say you two are truly in love? Let me guess, where did this true love begin? Was it the engagement party a couple of days ago? Was it the countless secret rendezvous over the years, or the night after the SATs? The sound of a heavy object falling, the shattering of a ceramic cup, startled the three people downstairs. They heard the commotion and came upstairs. Olivia was lying limply on my bedroom floor, clutching her stomach, whimpering softly in pain. Her white loungewear was splattered with coffee on the chest, the cup shattered beside her. And I sat in front of her, watching coldly. This scene deeply stung our mother. Anxious and worried, she helped Olivia up. What happened? What's wrong? Olivia, what's wrong with you? Olivia weakly opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. It hurts so much, Mom. Don't blame Khloe, I just lost my footing. She didn't push me. Susan, heartbroken for her eldest daughter, looked up with a furious expression. A woman who always cared about her socialite image, she didn't even bother with the coffee stains on her hand from who knows where, and pointed straight at me. Khloe. She's your own sister. And she's pregnant with your nephew. How dare you push her? Growing more agitated, she almost stood up, wanting to slap me, but her legs gave way, and she knelt on Olivia. Olivia's crying stopped for a second. I pursed my lips, suppressing a laugh. When people are embarrassed, they always try to look busy. Susan hurriedly moved away, tears falling, cradling Olivia, and yelled at my dad. Robert. What are you standing there for? Call a doctor. What a sin, what a terrible sin. Robert was jolted back to his senses, also extremely anxious, and wanted to go downstairs to call for help. Jackson stood right in the middle of the doorway, blocking Robert, his tone calm to the point of indifference. Robert, don't rush just yet. Robert froze, both anxious and fearful. Jackson, what are you doing? Jackson didn't say anything, just tilted his chin in my direction. Everyone in the room looked at me. I slowly rose from my chair and clapped softly. You know what? This is the only act my sister has perfected over the years. It's just a pity that today, the curtain falls. Susan didn't understand what I was doing. Worried about Olivia, she roared at me fiercely, her voice even cracking a little. What nonsense are you talking? Why won't you let your dad call a doctor? Are you trying to kill your sister and this unborn child? I frowned, raised my hand to cover my ears, and looked at Jackson for help. He raised his hand, bent his knuckles, and knocked on the door, signaling her to quiet down. Rest assured, in this room, the one most worried about something happening to Olivia is not you. What? Jackson fell silent, and I took over. If something happens to Olivia in my room, I'll have to pay for it with my whole life. I'm not that self-sacrificing. Susan looked down at the miserable Olivia in her arms, then looked at me. Puzzled, what are you trying to do? I picked up the two phones from the bed, then walked to the desk and took out Jackson's phone, which was hidden behind some books. I even waved the recording screen at them. Olivia's crying stopped instantly. I caught the obvious, subtle panic and fear in her eyes. Our parents also held their breath at this moment, sensing that something was wrong. My room had never been quieter. I didn't keep them in suspense, turned on the projector in the room, and connected Jackson's phone. I played the video I had just saved from the beginning. For the first few minutes of the video, I was alone in the room folding clothes. Then Olivia came in with a cup of coffee. A few minutes later, I asked Olivia. Let me guess, where did you and Alexander's true love begin? Was it the engagement party a couple of days ago? Was it the countless secret rendezvous over the years? Or, the night after the SATs? Olivia's face instantly turned pale. She took 2 steps towards me, her teeth gritted. What nonsense are you talking? In the video, my reply was clearly audible. Golden Shore Hotel, 10th floor, room 107. I was the one who helped you delete the surveillance footage of you two passionately making out in the hallway. After hearing this, Olivia backhanded the coffee onto herself, her voice cold and laced with jealousy. So what? You owe me all of this. Then, without even blinking, she slammed the coffee cup onto the floor, skillfully and nimbly avoided the shards, lay down on the floor, clutched her stomach, and cried out in alarm. The commotion brought everyone upstairs to open the door. In the last few seconds of the video, I walked towards the camera. It ended there, and the room was silent. The deep concern on Susan's face froze. In disbelief. Olivia, you? Why? Robert's face flushed red. He had prided himself on being a gentleman all his life and never raised his voice. This time, he couldn't help but angrily reprimand Olivia. What do you think you're doing? Olivia's tears were still flowing. She shook her head, frantically grabbing Susan's hand, clutching it so tightly that her knuckles turned white. I'm not, I just. Stop. I clapped my hands, interrupting their performance. I'm just presenting a factual situation to everyone here. I don't want to know what happens next. Jackson and I have things to do, so we'll be leaving now. As if awakened by my words. Olivia stood up, ignoring the cup fragments at her feet, and tried to grab me. Khloe, you did this on purpose. You want to ruin me, you want to take everything from me. You bitch, you just. However, faster than her was Susan, who had stood up with her and grabbed her arm. Olivia froze in place, her pupils filled with shock and disbelief. Susan retracted her hand, looking tenderly at the palm print slowly appearing on Olivia's face, and murmured softly. How could you be like this? How did you become like this? That's your sister. Olivia was stunned by the slap. She slowly raised her hand, covered her face, and stared at Susan with tears streaming down, habitually resorting to excuses and playing the victim. You actually hit me for her? Mom, have you forgotten how many times I've given in to her over the years? I've given her everything. All I wanted was Alexander. What did I do wrong? Susan faltered for a moment, her hand holding Olivia's trembled. Mom just saw you just now. Olivia sneered. Saw me just now? I was just using my own way to protect my love. And you, Mom? Are you going to blindly side with Khloe? Susan shook her head, wanting to say something. I couldn't help but interrupt. All right, sister is right about everything. But I just have one question. Everyone in the room looked at me. I looked at Olivia. This is your first time being hit, right? How does it feel? Visibly, Olivia's face turned from white to green, which, combined with the red palm print on her face, looked quite comical. I laughed out loud. If you can't express your feelings, then forget it. We've seen enough of the show, we should go. The rest was for them to deal with. I was no longer interested in watching. Olivia was ordered back to her room by Robert. He and Susan, looking thoroughly embarrassed, saw Jackson and me out. As I was about to get into the car, Susan held the car door and tugged at my sleeve. Khloe. I didn't say anything. Jackson narrowed his eyes, pulled me into the car, leaned over my lap, and said sincerely. If Miss Olivia has any thoughts of entering the entertainment industry, she can contact me. He paused, then drew out his words. After all, I see she's exceptionally talented. Susan froze, her empty fingers clenching, and didn't reply. I glanced up, then looked away, bowing my head and waving to her. We're leaving, Mom. As if placated by my mom, Susan managed a weak smile and waved back. Okay. The car door closed, and the window shut out the pain welling in her eyes. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. A late awakening is, after all, too late. Growing up, Olivia had acted like this countless times. Starting from a few years old, no matter how cunning a child she was, how could she have remained flawless all along? It was just that the parents' hearts were biased from the start, and even their eyes and ears were biased, only seeing and hearing what they wanted to see and hear. So they would countless times ignore my requests and pleas for help, wholeheartedly supporting Olivia, the seemingly more fragile victim. Fortunately, it's all in the past. And fortunately, I stopped caring a long time ago. Back at the residence, I originally wanted to catch up on some sleep. Last night, a small accident happened. Robert couldn't wait a single day. After confirming that my marriage to Jackson was real, he eagerly called me to bring Jackson home for dinner the very next day. He said it was dinner, but everyone knew what he was really after. I couldn't be bothered to have my appetite ruined at the dinner table, so I dragged Jackson over early in the morning, hoping to skip the lunch segment. Luckily, Olivia didn't disappoint and lent me a hand, allowing us to slip away early. The spring weather was perfect, ideal for sleeping. Who knew that just as I flopped onto the bed, a restless fellow sidled up. Sleepy? I mumbled into the quilt, my voice muffled, yeah. The next instant, the bed beside me dipped, and Jackson reached out, pulling me into his arms. I was forced out of the covers, my vision shifting, and an impeccably handsome face was inches from mine. The bet you lost yesterday, you wouldn't go back on your word, would you? Bet? The one about my parents' patience with him, their golden goose. I boasted they could wait a week, but thinking about what I'd promised, my ears unconsciously burned. Is this something we can discuss in broad daylight? Jackson narrowed his eyes, his tone light but with a hint of threat. You wouldn't go back on your word, would you? Of course not. The remaining words were swallowed by Jackson as he pressed my head towards him. I've never been able to resist Jackson's kisses. By the time he let me go, I was out of breath, and tears had welled up in the corners of my eyes. I'm tired, really tired. Jackson pressed closer again, lightly sucking on my lower lip. I'll sleep with you for a bit. I was still panting, struggling to push him away. Get away from me. Jackson yielded to the force and lay down beside me, sighing softly. Sleep. You need to be well rested to enjoy the show. 3 days later, Alexander announced that he and Olivia were going to have a make-up engagement party. The invitation even ended up in Jackson's hands. Jackson slapped the invitation into my hand, raising an eyebrow teasingly. Let's go, watch the show. So this was the show he was talking about. I smiled and accepted it. This is something to look forward to. The Maybach stopped outside the banquet hall. Jackson got out, walked around the front of the car, and opened the door for me. I reached out, took his arm, and went in with him. This engagement party was in a larger venue, with more effort put into it, and many media outlets were invited. I glanced around and sighed. It really is true love. This is much more elaborate than my party. Jackson scanned the scene upon hearing this, a smile playing on his lips. This counts as elaborate? I smiled too, humoring him. Just average, I guess. There were truly a lot of people inside. Many children of wealthy families and impeccably dressed CEOs were gathered in small groups, drinking and chatting. There were even many exquisitely dressed celebrities and influencers. However, most of these people weren't a crowd could simply invite. I was a little puzzled. Could it be that they had some recent developments I wasn't aware of? Fortunately, my confusion was cleared up shortly. Ever since Jackson and I entered the venue, we had gradually attracted the attention of most of the people gathered. Not far away, someone was already swirling their wine glass, eager to come over and strike up a conversation with Jackson. I patted Jackson's arm. Looks like this party is benefiting from your presence. Jackson was rich, handsome, and had a powerful background. He was, after all, known as the Crown Prince. In the years he'd made a name for himself in River City, he had always maintained a clean image, with zero scandals, and wasn't keen on attending any banquets. Now that a fiancé had suddenly popped out of nowhere, everyone was naturally curious. Upon inquiring, they found out it was me. And since I was the Booth's daughter, and Olivia was my only biological sister, it was her engagement. Logically, I was definitely going to be there. So these people were all gambling. What if, just what if, I brought Jackson along too? This might be one of their few opportunities to get close to him. Not far away, Alexander emerged from the crowd, holding a wine glass, and raised it to us from a distance, his face beaming. "Khloe, Jackson." A waiter brought over 2 glasses of wine. I took one, giving him some face as the host, and raised it in return. "Congratulations." As for what I was congratulating him on, that was hard to say. Alexander didn't care that Jackson ignored him, nodded, took a sip of his wine, and turned back into the crowd. I found a table and put down my wine glass. When I turned back, I saw Jackson surrounded by several CEOs who seemed to be acquaintances. Really can't catch a break. I found a corner, trying hard to ignore a pair of eyes that had been watching me intently from not far away. I casually swirled my wine glass, ate a small cake, and took a sip of wine from time to time. Seeing that the guests had almost all arrived, I put down my wine glass, leaned onto the table, and pretended to be asleep. Sure enough, the person who had been watching me couldn't hold back any longer and came over to support me. Miss? Are you all right? Let me help you upstairs to rest." I closed my eyes, a silent, cold smile on my lips. It seemed the real show was about to begin. The waitress took me to a room, quite gently stripped off my clothes, thoughtfully covered me halfway with a quilt, then closed the door and left. Once all the commotion had died down, I sat up in bed and fumbled in the dark for the dress beside the bed and put it on. The room was dark and silent. My phone had also been taken by the waitress just now. I tried hard to adjust to the darkness and walked around the room. It was really neat and tidy, not even a wardrobe, no place to hide at all. The only main door was probably locked. Giving up on hiding, I sat on the sofa by the window and rubbed my sore shoulders. What surprise do you think she has for me? A faint electronic static sound came from my left earring. Then, Jackson's cold voice came through. "You can look forward to it. After all, she won't be polite to you in the slightest." I got up, walked to the bed, grabbed the blanket, returned to the sofa, and wrapped myself in it. "That's a truly heartbreaking conclusion." Jackson snorted coldly. "Yeah, so heartbreaking you're about to laugh out loud." I smiled but didn't respond. I was indeed looking forward to what surprise Olivia had in store for me today. There was a noise at the door. I unconsciously clutched the blanket tighter and looked towards the sound. The door was slowly pushed open. The light from the hallway seemed glaring at this moment, and I had to squint. In my blurred vision, 2 figures slipped into the room, followed by some rustling sounds. It seemed like the newcomers were undressing. A hoarse male voice urged, "Hurry up, take the pictures and let's go." Another, lower male voice, panicked and anxious. I know. The 2 didn't turn on the lights. I vaguely caught a glimpse of figures fumbling towards the bed. I curled up on the sofa, hiding myself further under the blanket. I counted silently in my head. The 2 fumbled around on the bed for a while but couldn't find anyone. "Wait, where is she?" "She's not here." "They said she was on the bed, right?" "Turn on the lights and look." I continued counting down. "Time's up." The door was opened, and light flooded into the room. I instantly lifted the blanket to cover my eyes, afraid of seeing something I shouldn't. After a click of a switch, Jackson's voice was like ice. Well, gentlemen, taking nude artistic photos with little chili peppers hanging around?" The 2 men in the room were dragged to the doorway by Jackson's men. Jackson pulled me out from under the covers and carried me out of the room. 2 men, just dressed in waiter uniforms, knelt at the door, one of them with a small camera hanging around his neck. I looked away and asked Jackson to put me down. "Who sent you?" The two looked at each other for a few seconds, then decisively spoke. It was Olivia. She asked us to take some indecent photos of you, and specifically requested that your full face must be visible. Miss Khloe, we were just paid to do a job. Could you and Jackson? I smiled politely, turned, and walked away. Jackson, call the police. For the past 20 years, Olivia had grown accustomed to lording over me. When I returned to the Booths' home that day, she suffered such a huge setback that she even moved out that very night. How could she possibly be content, do nothing, and let me be well? As expected, she was not polite to me at all. Downstairs, the wedding banquet had already begun and was gradually becoming lively. On the big screen at the end of the runway, scenes from Alexander and Olivia's childhood sweetheart past were playing. I was present in many of those scenes, and during the time some of those photos were taken, Alexander was pursuing me. I don't know when or under what pretext Olivia took those photos with him. Now they had become their exclusive sweet memories. How interesting. In the corner beside the stage, the pianist was engrossed in playing a dreamy wedding march. The music, along with the blessings of the crowd, enveloped the entire venue. Jackson followed behind me and put his arms around me. She should really like your return gift. I looked down at the beaming Olivia and sighed softly. I originally didn't want to send it. Unfortunately, this sister of mine is too naive, stubbornly going down the wrong path, completely unaware that one should always leave a way out for oneself. Perhaps my indulgence over the years had made her so consistently foolish. The photos on the big screen had already transitioned to their engagement makeup and attire shots. The MC signaled for Olivia and Alexander to come on stage. They walked over arm in arm, exchanged a smile, turned to face the crowd, and were just about to speak. Suddenly, our conversation from just now, mine and Jackson's, blared from the speakers on either side of the big screen. The big screen was dark, but the voices from the speakers were crystal clear. It was from a short while ago, when I whispered to Jackson through the hidden monitor in my earring. What surprise do you think she has for me? Until the end, when the man dressed as a waiter said those two sentences. It was Olivia who asked us to take pictures of you fooling around with other men, and she specifically requested that your full face be visible. Miss Khloe, we were just paid to do a job, could you and Jackson? On stage, Olivia's face was ashen. She pulled Alexander, trying to turn off the big screen. Who's in charge of this? Turn it off. What is this? Turn it all off. But it was too late. Jackson's men had already come in and blocked anyone trying to get to the projection room. The big screen continued. The scene changed. This time it was my room. I was alone, tidying up. Then Olivia walked in with a coffee cup. The coffee cup that had shattered a few days ago, shattered again. The video ended once more after I approached the camera. The whole place was in an uproar. Olivia had collapsed to the ground, her face tear-streaked. Alexander was holding her, half kneeling beside her, his face a mask of shock. I let go of the railing, leaned back, and fell into Jackson's embrace. I almost forgot, what's in the next video? As if cued by my voice, the screen went dark again. 3 seconds later, Olivia's voice came out before the picture. I really like this trophy, Khloe. The picture gradually became clear. Olivia, clearly several years younger than she was now, was holding a crystal trophy, examining it carefully. Anyone with good eyesight could see the winner's name engraved on it, Khloe. That was my trophy. In the video, I was sitting on a sofa on one side of the living room, ignoring Olivia. She didn't care if I paid attention or not, and dropped the trophy at her feet with a gasp. I'm sorry, Khloe, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have said anything. Don't be angry. Then Robert and Susan appeared, protecting Olivia. Olivia seemed to soften, defending me. It's not Khloe's fault. I shouldn't have been curious about this trophy. Khloe didn't mean to hit me with it. Mom, Dad, don't be angry. Little did she know, her attempts to dissuade them only added fuel to the fire. Susan pointed at me, looking disappointed. How could I have given birth to a daughter like you? That's your sister. The images on the screen continued to play. The media in the banquet hall had long since lost their composure, already live streaming, cameras flashing incessantly. The guests who had originally surrounded the main characters quickly retreated several feet. Oh my God, are they really sisters? Oh my God, are those her biological parents? You can't judge a book by its cover. It looks like Alexander doesn't know anything. His own wife, how could he not know anything? Didn't Alexander get engaged to Olivia before? Then he switched to Khloe at the last minute. Could Olivia be jealous of her sister, so she even wants to steal her fiancé? That's a terrifying thought. The buzz of discussion gradually drowned out one of the main characters in the video. The originally warm and happy engagement banquet suddenly turned into her public execution. Olivia sat there, helplessly clutching Alexander's arm, wanting him to lead her away from the crowd. But Alexander seemed to be in deep shock, frozen in place, and was pushed aside by Olivia. Seeing that Robert and Susan were also surrounded and couldn't help, Olivia simply swayed, rolled her eyes, and fainted, as if unable to bear it. The people in the venue, seeing this, retreated a few more steps, afraid she would try to frame someone, and it became chaotic again for a moment. Jackson had someone bring a microphone, his well-defined fingers tapping it lightly. His deep, pleasant voice carried through the surrounding speakers, audible to everyone. Everyone. The crowd below stopped and looked around, finally focusing their gaze on Jackson and me on the second floor. He passed the microphone to my lips. I looked at the big screen, my tone calm. I hope today's program didn't disappoint everyone. After a pause, I looked at Olivia, who was being helped up. She persisted in pretending to be unconscious, her meticulously done makeup already ruined. I just wonder, is sister satisfied? My sister, who had been doted on since childhood, self-righteous and naive, was finally shaken awake by Alexander, as if just snapping out of her panic. Like a cornered animal, she stared at me fiercely, her voice shrill. Khloe. Is it you? Are you crazy? You're forcing me. I finished her sentence for her. Forcing you to die? Olivia froze, as if she didn't understand what I was saying. What? I chuckled, genuinely happy. Isn't that what you've loved saying to me for the past 20 years? Countless times in the past, after I had achieved some honor, Olivia would avoid our parents and gently take my hand. I really envy you, Khloe. You're healthy and energetic, you have so many wonderful memories, and you work so hard to achieve honor, it really makes me happy for you. But Khloe, we're both mom's daughters. Why are you healthy and happy, able to have everything you want, while I can only be cooped up at home, unable to do this or that? I'm really, so sad. She would smash and tear up the trophies and honors I had worked so hard for. Then she would lie amidst the mess. You're so outstanding, you've taken everything from me. You make it seem like my birth was a mistake. You're always pushing me to die, Khloe. But she only ever said it. She didn't treat me like a sister. More like an enemy. She probably wanted me dead more, or perhaps, wished I had never been born. I sighed, Olivia, with your own character, what makes you think I would be any kind of good sister? At certain moments, didn't I also wish for a sharp piece of glass that could smoothly glide across Olivia's neck? At the edge of the venue, the live stream was still going. I swallowed some inappropriate words and paused. After all, it's sister's engagement party. At this moment, Jackson's secretary walked over to Robert and Susan with a box. I softened my tone. I had actually prepared another gift. The box opened, revealing a villa's property deed and a gift contract. Someone nearby with a keen eye for such things exclaimed. Is that, from Cloudcrest Manor? That's right, it's Cloudcrest Manor. Money can't buy it, and power doesn't guarantee you can live there. Olivia is so generous. Just as Robert's eyes lit up and he was about to reach for it, the box was closed. I smiled faintly, apologetically. It was originally a gift. Unfortunately, now it can only be considered compensation. These things belong to you now. The box was handed to Robert's secretary. Susan, at some point, was in tears. Khloe. I ignored the pain in her eyes, looked away, and then turned my gaze to Olivia, who had lost all facial expression. Just like when we were children, right after she had gaslighted me, I apologized to her with utmost sincerity. Sister, I'm sorry. This kind of situation won't happen again. Apologizing in the past was due to youth, valuing sisterly affection, deciding to give up honor to protect her sensitive and fragile heart. Apologizing now is because I have truly destroyed her so-called lifelong pursuit of happiness. My entanglement with her ends here. The engagement party ended dismally. Jackson and I made headlines again. The content suppressed from the last engagement party was also dug up, but the tone was a bit strange. Olivia suspected of following a script, no evidence. That line, "What kind of good sister would I be then?" cleared my sinuses. Armed with evidence, a fatal blow, an absolutely thrilling story. A White Rabbit's counterattack? No, everyone's a villain. Am I the only one who noticed Jackson's indulgent face? She's making a scene, he's smiling, it's perfect. I think so too. The booths called me countless times, I ignored every single one. However, when the police came to investigate the photo incident, I still encountered an annoying person. Alexander looked very dejected. The booths company had gone downhill rapidly after the engagement party, and the Fong family was inevitably affected. He indeed had reason to be dejected. After all, he had never been a hard-working and capable person. Olivia is hospitalized, I raised my hand to signal him to stop, intending to close the door and send him away. Stop right there, please leave. The door was blocked by Alexander. Khloe, I didn't mean it. On the day of the SATs, I originally wanted to confess to you. I was drunk, I don't know why it was Olivia. I stood behind the door, not wanting to look at him. So that's what you were referring to. You've had enough, Alexander. Let's not even talk about how many times you two have fooled around in recent years. I drew out my words. Haven't you ever wondered why it was Olivia who went to see you that night? Alexander's grip tightened, prying the door open, looking at me in disbelief. What do you mean by that? I took 2 steps back and sneered. I had someone put the aphrodisiac in your drink. I intentionally let Olivia see the text message where you asked me out. Even the room where you two fooled around, I prepared it for you. Why? We clearly had an engagement, I raised my hand again, waving it, clearly expressing my dissatisfaction. Why can't you understand plain language? I'm really troubled. Why have you always been pestering me since we were little? Alexander froze on the spot again. Memories of my countless evasions and rejections during his youth flashed before his eyes. He looked like he was about to shatter from sadness. I liked you so much. Does that have anything to do with me? I sneered coldly. Don't you understand yet? From beginning to end, I've detested you. I never had the slightest affection for you. The thought of having to marry you in the future used to keep me up at night. Being pestered by him since childhood, being forced to stay by his side as Alexander's fiancé, that was truly the worst time I've ever experienced. I was just returning you to Olivia, like I said before. I wish you both, as lovers, a happy ending. After the wedding banquet, 2 families broke off relations, and the engagement was completely annulled. To avoid being dragged down, the Fong group completely severed ties with the Booths Corporation. Fortunately, they withdrew in time, and the Fong family suffered little damage. As for the already corrupt the Booths Corporation, it collapsed overnight. Robert and Susan disappeared from public view. Olivia was diagnosed with mild paranoia and severe depression and remained in a sanatorium in the suburbs of River City. Jackson brought back the 2 gifts that had been given out at the banquet, completely intact. The Booths' assets were seized, and the Booths Corporation was acquired by Jackson. The Booths, burdened with enormous debts and with no way out, could only mortgage the villa I had gifted them. The debt of upbringing is hard to repay, the bond of sisterhood hard to sever. This was the only gift I gave to the Booths. And it was their last resort. With the past settled, I finally had some free time. Unexpectedly, various wealthy families sent invitations for me to go out and have fun. But everyone understood that the real intention was not the wine, they valued the man behind me. Fortunately, Jackson turned them all down for me and took me to hide away at the old family estate. In the residence, on a sofa of a somber color, an old lady with silver hair was glaring at me angrily. Oh my, who is this girl? Why don't I recognize her? After speaking, she tapped her cup on the table and turned her head away, refusing to look at me. I hurried over and took her arm. Grandma, it's Khloe. Look at me again. I don't believe your eyes are empty. Who's Khloe? Don't know her, never heard of her. Grandma snorted, still not looking at me. I moved to her other side, hugged her, and continued to act cute. You can't not know me. Grandma said she liked me the most. Grandma, don't be angry. I've been busy dealing with some annoying people these past few days. I finally have some free time now, so I'll spend more time with you. Hearing the explanation, Grandma's hand affectionately held mine. She turned her head to glare at Jackson. Khloe was in trouble, and you didn't even bother to help her. Jackson spread his hands and sat down directly on the single sofa beside them. She didn't need my help. Just then, he came downstairs. Even in casual clothes, his imposing aura couldn't be concealed, like an ancient sword with a hidden edge. Though looking down from above, his eyes were gentle, and his tone carried a hint of teasing amusement. Khloe's been quite the figure lately. Our boy here might not even be able to help. I looked up, pursed my lips, and smiled, feeling a little embarrassed. Uncle, you're here too. Your aunt heard you were coming and made me bring her over early this morning. Jackson's mom, dressed in a simple, elegant dress, followed Jackson's dad downstairs, her tone gentle. It was me. I was thinking we could have a family meal. It's perfect timing, Khloe can come with me to look at engagement dresses. Hearing this, Grandma gently stroked my head. Unknowingly, the little girl has become a young lady. I swayed my head with the force of her hand, also feeling emotional. Yeah. It's already been 10 years since I met Jackson when I was 15. Compared to that gloomy home, the Millers' old residence felt more like my real home. On the day of my engagement party with Jackson, on the top floor of Serene Garden, everything Jackson had secretly and painstakingly prepared was finally presented before me. Holding my skirt, I pushed open the door and entered. There were no throngs of guests, no surrounding media. White roses, shipped from all over the world, carpeted the entire venue. And on the stage at the end of the red carpet, there were only our families. Jackson's mom leaned against Jackson's dad, holding a small gift box. Grandma held a microphone, her voice kind and gentle, drifting through the air with the breeze. Khloe. Welcome home. Jackson led me closer, helped me take the box from Jackson's mom's hands, and opened it. A jade bracelet, warm in texture and entirely emerald green, slipped onto my wrist. Khloe. Welcome home. Tears fell from my eyes, and for a moment, I was speechless. How fortunate I was to have met and known Jackson in my youth. 10 years have passed. The dust has settled.